Hi guys, James from DBG here, and welcome to another video. This is a showcase video. As I said in the CG Initiative tournament review video, I will do a showcase of my Catachan army. This is it complete. This is not the army that I took. There's some additional units in there, and it's going to be in two parts. Well, two parts in the same video, because I haven't got enough room on my desk to put everything up. As you would expect, it's guard. And I'm still having, it would say, focus issues with my camera. But we will sort that out. So first of all, let's see if I can get a bit more focus going on. No, okay. So first of all, something about the army. The army, I believe I said in the previous video, is themed around the Vietnam War. They're Catachans. The whole thing, when GW first pumped the new ones out, I think in 1992, was Vietnam War. It could be 93. Anyway, it was the mid-90s, was Vietnam War. They had, obviously you had your Catachans, your Acadians, your Talons, your Valhallans, your Mordians and your Attilas. And each one was themed on a historical period. So obviously Catachans was Vietnam, Valhallans were Soviet, Second World War. Talon were clearly all the stuff going on in the Middle East from the First World War right way through to now, etc, etc, etc. And then you've got dress uniforms, Mordians, and your modern type troops, which are the Acadians. So I decided to do Catachans, which have some really nice rules, because I was just sick and tired of seeing Acadians everywhere. So just a quick overview of Catachan rules. The infantry, if you use a Catachan regimental doctrine, the infantry get +1 strength. So all your infantry is now strength 4, which is very handy for dealing with Marines, because you're now wounding Marines on 4s instead of 5s. Also, it means if you go up against other guard or other squishy things like Skitari or Eldar or New Zealand Colts, you're actually wounding them on 3s, which is very handy. Also, if they are within 6 inches of an officer, they have +1 leadership. So it basically means that they are akin to Space Marines in leadership ways, because they're leadership 7 with a sergeant, leadership 6 base. If they're within 6 inches of an officer, they then become leadership 8, leadership 7. So they're less likely to run away. And the thing which I think is best about Catachans is the tank version of that, because they're so big and bulky and strong, they can heave the ammunition into the breeches of the guns in their vehicles faster than you would normally. So to represent that, any vehicle weapon that has a D6 or 2D6 or whatever, you can re-roll one of those dice, which means with grinding advance, because they're 2 separate shots, you can re-roll both dice, so you've got more chance of getting more shots off, which is very cool. So without further ado, this is the first part. This is what I would call the flanking force. I will try and get some more focusy stuff going on. So right, first of all, we have this Valkyrie. Now, as you can see, it has American markings on. That's because this entire army is themed on the Vietnam War, and I've hardly used any what you would class as Imperial 40k type decals and markings. Everything is Vietnam era. As you can see, the Valkyrie is set up for ground support, anti-infantry with the multi-laser, the rocket pods, and the door gunners. Because there's door gunners there, I actually painted the interiors, but you can't see. And I don't know if you can see, but in the cockpit, I did some details on the screens and what have you. But as usual, my camera's being a bit of a dick. Anyway, and the card scheme is of a McDonnell Douglas Sky Raider of the United States Air Force of that era. Those purists among you would go, hang on a minute, he's using World War II American United States Air Force insignia, not Vietnam War. Yes, the Vietnam War insignia had a red bar or a red surround to the actual icon, but I didn't have any, and I could only get them from America, and I wasn't going to pay anything up to £20 for what would essentially be me using 4 decals. So I used what I had, which I think is fair. So then we have 2 chimeras. This, and this is really cool. I did a commission not that long ago, 18 months ago, maybe a bit more, of one of my regulars who had lots of Vietnam era stuff he wanted painted, and he sent me through a decal sheet of names that were put on these specific vehicles he wanted painted. And obviously we have the Valkyrie's called Brutus, but these decals are really cool. They're on really thin backing film, so I hardly needed to use any Microsol. They just conformed to the shape normally, which was really cool. It's obviously meant they did break, but not in a bad way. It was easy done. So this chimera is called War Wagon. Come on, focus for me, please. Focus for me, please. Okay, this one's called War Wagon. Obviously you can see I've done the weathering in, I'm trying to see, done the weathering in sort of the Vietnamese red mud. Obviously this one is armed with 2 heavy bolters, because I thought that the -1 AP was better than an extra point of strength. Then we have 3 sentinels, all armed, they're scout sentinels, all armed with heavy flamers. In the tournament, didn't do too well. I rolled plenty of 1s when it comes to wounding with the heavy flamers, even though I was wounding on 3s, in some cases 2s. No, not 2s at all, mainly 3s. Anyway, but they're mainly used to surge forward and grab objectives, because you get your free 9-inch scout move. So this guy here is what we call the unit sergeant. I've stuck a few bits of the spare bits from the command sprue. So we've got the Catachan fang, las pistols, and a shovel. Each one has got its own separate thing. See this one's got a medipack on the back. Come on, focus. Please focus. No, we're not going to focus. So each one, that one's got a medipack on the back, and the other one's just got a kit and spare flamer tanks. This next chimera is standardly armed with a multi-laser and heavy bolter, but this one is called Trail Boss. Then, if I can just adjust my stuff, there we go. Then we've got these two infantry units down here. Now this one here is the one that started this all off. One of my clients had a box of random miniatures and things that he needed to get rid of, so he asked me if I'd like them. So of course I said yes. He didn't tell me what was in the box, and it turned out there's lots of lovely stuff in the box. There's like Flames of War, Confrontation, and some really old fantasy and 40k stuff. And one of them was this squad here, this complete 10-man squad of original 1990s metal Catachans. I thought, yeah, they're cool. I'll do those. I'll do a Catachan army, and they've been sitting around for a good couple of months, maybe more. Army iron, but I finally got around to doing it. So here's the sergeant. Here's the sergeant. Now, as you can see, or you might have trouble seeing, there'll be photos on the page that are far better than this video. I have no idea why all of a sudden this has been such an arse when it comes to doing videos. Anyway, as you can see, he's in plain greens. There's no camouflage. Yeah, and all the bandanas and stuff I've done in a sort of a World War II jungle green instead of the red, because I thought, you know, you'd blend in better. I know the fluff behind them it's a badge of honour to earn the red bandana, but I just thought you're going for a full Vietnam. They did have bandanas and stuff like that, and towels and scarves they put around themselves to stop the sweat getting in their eyes, and they were all green, so I thought I'd use green. So we'll just look at the missile launcher loader with the missiles. Right, now we've got this guy here. He is a platoon commander or a lieutenant. And even though they're American, I am going to use the British way of saying lieutenant, which is lieutenant, because I'm British, and lieutenant just sounds better. Anyway, this lieutenant, he's armed with a chainsword and las pistol. His sole purpose, apart from giving that leadership buff, is for these guys here. Now, these guys here is a special weapon squad, and each one, you've got 3 flamers and 3 las guns. Now the Catachans have these are all plastic, by the way. The Catachans come a focus. Oh, I do apologise for this. This is getting really ridiculous. They have a specific order. Each regiment has its own special order. So this guy here, this is my favourite. This is a mix of the new command squad and some arms from the old squad. The arms are a bit obvious because they're slightly bigger, because the old squad is probably, I'd say, about 15 years old, and obviously the command squad is only 6 years old. So the command squad one is slightly better. But sorry, I digress. Catachans have a special order, which is burn them out. And in simple terms, it means that a unit armed with flamers or heavy flamers can re-roll the number of shot dice. That's all of them. It does not just one, all of them. And the opponents don't get the benefit for cover, which is very cool. I use that order in every game, sometimes multiple times in every game, and some games it worked, some games it didn't. But hey ho. So that is the first part. That is what I would call the flanking force or the recon force or air support, whatever. So join me in a couple of minutes while I've got to clear this and get the next lot out, and we'll have a look at the rest of the force. Right guys, welcome back. And as you can see, my phone is still as grainy things. But this is the rest of the force. There are some bits at the front you just can't see, but here's the rest of the force. The force in total now is about 1650. My plan is to get up to 2k, involved buying 2 more things: a Lehman Russ, which will be a tank commander, and a Hellhound, and then I'll have 2,000 points. Then I'll stop, because 2,000 points is a nice number. So what do we have? We have, this is the essence of the army. So the army consists of a battalion and a spearhead. The stuff you saw just now was all in the battalion. So this is the meat and bones. So the rest of the battalion, which is the infantry and the officers, and then the spearhead, which is an officer, so heavy weapon squads, and the vehicles. So let's pan over here. So we have 2 heavy weapon squads, one armed with las cannon, the other armed with auto cannon. Sorry, my camera's being weird. We have 2 Lehman Russ. Again, each Lehman Russ is named. We'll look at those in a bit. Then moving over at the back, we have a Master of Ordnance, which is actually really handy if you have Basilisks or Wyvern, which I have 2 Wyvern, which are the next 2. Then down at the bottom there we have 4 squads of infantry. Each one is identical. There's a sergeant with a las pistol and a, well, Catachan Fang, which is basically a chainsword. And then the two miniatures you just can't see. One is another officer, a company commander or a captain. And then we have Colonel Ironhand Strachan as well. Oh, and Gunnery Sergeant Harker, which is basically, when it comes to shooting, a Space Marine captain. So let's have a few. Let's see if try not to get my camera to fall off. So let's start with the characters. So this is Gunnery Sergeant Harker. Trying to get my lights all sorted. Gunnery Sergeant Harker. He is armed with a heavy bolter, and it is an Assault 3 heavy bolter, not a heavy 3 heavy bolter. He is also weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, and he adds. He lets you reroll hit rolls of a 1 for shooting only for units within 6 inches of him. That's all Catachan units, which includes vehicles. So tournament, I tend to have him back so he can snipe stuff off with heavy bolter. With the Wyverns, so the Wyverns can reroll 1s. So yeah, there's Harker. Then we have Mr. Hard to Kill himself, Ironhand Strachan, who is basically half bionic. Again, the colours are all muted olive drab, as you would expect from infantry in the Vietnam conflict. Then we have a company commander. This guy can either be armed with a power fist and bolt pistol or power sword and bolt pistol, depending on my mood. He was armed with a power sword and bolt pistol, although he never actually got into combat, but he did do a couple of shots with his pistol, and he did issue many orders. And then we'll just have a look at a couple of the guys from the infantry squads. As you can see, with Vietnam era flak jacket, vest, and all the grey webbing and stuff. I know it's another sergeant, but I just want to talk about the flesh. The way I do flesh is very different to the way GW does flesh. I start with Bugman's Glow, then I wash with Nun Oil. And you think, Nun Oil? That's black. But it basically shades the Bugman's Glow so well. Yeah, just try it. Just try doing Nun Oil. Then you go back over with Bugman's Glow, obviously leaving a recess of Nun Oil. Then Cadian Flesh Tone, again leaving a recess of Bugman's Glow. And then finally Kislev Flesh for the final highlight. And that's how these guys have done their flesh. So yeah, so there's 4 infantry squads, all identical. We have this guy here, again, another one from the new command set. He is basically, he's armed with a las pistol. He can call in an orbital bombardment or an artillery bombardment once per battle. And he can let these guys re-roll hit rolls of 1 at ranges of over 36 inches. And they have a range of 48 inches. So him combined with Harker is, you're pretty much, because you're hitting on 4+s most of the time, it is worth it. It really is. So now we're on to las cannon. I'll use the same green on the tripods and casing of the las cannon as I did on all the vehicles, apart from the Valkyrie, which is obviously a specific camo scheme taken from a Vietnam era attack aircraft. And then here's the other one with the spare ammo drum. And last but not least, the vehicles. So this is Born Loser. And for a tank with that name, he actually did really well. Both the Lehman Russ in the tournament did very well. Specifically against Dawn and his Blood Angels. Not so much against the Eldar, but they were dirty Aliatok. And then here we have Outlaw. Again, the decals. If you're interested about the decals, they are from a game system called Command Decision. Just Google Command Decision 15mm and you'll be able to find decals and stuff. So yeah, that's Outlaw. Here's the first Wyvern. This one is called Sir Charles. Don't know why, I just liked it. And then at the back, again, I don't know if you can see, but I've done a little bit of work on the screens at the back and a little bit of work on the, oh, you can't really see, a little bit of work on the scroll map work of the crews. And then last but not least, we have Blind Faith, which seems very optimistic considering these are quad heavy mortars. And then again, a little bit of work on the screen and on the scroll as well. Again, unfortunately, my camera, when I do this sort of thing, it tends to trip out. It's fine when it's taking normal photos. When it's doing videos, it tends to do this sort of weirdness. But anyway, so there you go. That is my Catachan force already for the table and upcoming games against Chris and Reichardt and maybe a couple of other tournaments coming up. Chris did mention that there'll be another siege initiative probably in February. So I might take these guys again. I might take one of my other armies. Yeah, so as usual, check the links in the description for all our affiliates and sponsors. Can't remember them all. And our Patreon, do check that out. And if you can give a little bit so we can get some of the upcoming releases, like the new editions of, or the new books for Psychic Awakening, especially the Blood Angel one. The Blood Angel one I'm looking forward to. Blood Angels was my first ever army. And there might be some stuff for Flesh Terrors in. I know there's stuff for Flesh Terrors in December's White Dwarf. Hopefully it's a chapter approved with lots of other stuff. I really love Flesh Terrors. But anyway, yeah, so do the Patreon thing and then do all the YouTube stuff, like and subscribe and share and tell everyone, tell your friends and your cats and your dogs and everyone. So, and without further ado, thanks you guys for watching and I'll catch you next time.